Hey everyone, just wanted to go over some of our quiz questions from last week and also kind of give a brief overview of a few things. So last week we talked about analysis, external analysis, so looking at our external environment. And I think that what's really important is that everyone keep in mind the types of things that we're going to be looking at in our external environment, and also the importance of that. So when in some of our quiz questions, I'll probably dig into that a little bit more. But we can often do an internal environmental analysis, get a feel for how things are functioning in our internal environment, and we will be talking about that in a couple weeks as well. But what's really important is that external environment. How is that impacting our organization? What can we do to make changes to our strategy in the future to respond to the external environment, etc. So it's not just about with a healthcare organization, it's not just about what are we doing. It's about how are external things impacting us, and how can we improve our operations because of those things. So in our Flipgrid, in the discussion this past week, we were talking about changes that are likely to occur, and then why is an environmental analysis important? So think about one major change that, and a lot of you had touched on this, one major change that we're likely to see occur is the continued evolution of the Affordable Care Act. So that impacts not only people that are insured in this country, because many were uninsured until the Affordable Care Act pushed them toward insurance, but it also really impacts the healthcare organization, because we need to be able to deal with these changes as they occur over time. So, why is that environmental analysis important? Because we really need to not only have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in our organization, but also what's going on outside of our organization. So we also had the stakeholder map. So hopefully that will gave you an idea. And I apologize, there was an error. The information in the syllabus was correct, but the page and exhibit number was wrong here in the classroom. I do apologize for that. But so hopefully the stakeholder map gave you a good idea of here's your organization in the middle, and here are all those stakeholders that can really impact your organization. So it's not, if you really sit down and brainstorm about it, it's not just like your payers, your patients, in the government sector. There's so many more external stakeholders that can really impact your organization. Also, the final topic selection, I look forward to looking through them this week and giving you some feedback on that final topic. If it shifts or changes a bit as you get toward the additional assignments related to that, that's fine. It's not a problem. Perhaps as you discover things through this class, you may be more interested in something else, but just let me know. If you're going to be shifting your topic in some way, just let me know. And I'll be getting the feedback back to you here shortly. So I have 4 questions that I wanted to talk about. The first one was, expert opinion can be solicited with which of the following methods? So as we learned about in our text this week, when there is we're doing external analysis, we may not have all of the appropriate expertise in-house, or we might want to talk with customers, etc. So the textbook talked to us a bit about some of these different techniques. The nominal group technique, brainstorming, Delphi method, all great ways to get access to the needed information. So our answer for that particular question was all of the above. Next question, consumer determinants of a service area include all but which of the following? So the correct answer to this was hours of operation. And keep in mind that when we're talking about consumer determinants, and there is actually in the textbook, there's a little display of what is a consumer determinant versus what is the service provider determinant. Consumer determinants are going to include things like past experience, how much are they using the provider, what are their social values, as opposed to hours of operation, which the consumers have no hand in at all. So, so consumer determinant include all but which of the following. The correct answer was hours of operation because that's not something determined by the consumer. Next question. Monitoring or tracking of external issues accomplishes all but which of the following functions? Keep in mind that when you're talking about external issues and why we monitor them, why we track them, it's not, they're not always going to be a tell-all of telling the future. They're not a crystal ball to tell us what's going on in the future. So our correct answer to this was projections of future directions of external issues. So just because something is happening today doesn't mean that that's necessarily predicting what's going to happen tomorrow. What we do want to do is add these to our external issue database, identify additional sources of information about these issues, determine how often they change, but it's still never going to be a crystal ball as to how things are going to be functioning in the future for us. Last question. The service area of a doctor's practice is defined by patient preferences in the available medical providers. And this was a true-false question. The answer to that is true. Obviously, the service area of any organization is really dependent on patient preference. So some patients don't mind traveling a bit to get to their organization, to get to a provider. Some patients are not going to want to travel. And the type of providers that are within that organization may drive that service area. So for example, I go to the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City for the bulk of my services. They're a highly specialized, very well-respected organization. So their service area is pretty broad because people will travel. I will take the 6-hour drive to New York to see these providers. Whereas a small 1 or 2 physician primary care practice without any, high research content or things like that, they are not likely to have as wide a service area. People are probably driving 15 minutes, maybe half an hour to get to a primary care provider because there's always going to be another one that's close by. So the available providers to take part in a practice as well as patient preference is really going to drive that service area. So that is week 2. If you have any questions on other quiz questions, please let me know. And just a little bit about week 3. So this week we do have a group project, and your group assignments are listed here on this page. They're also listed on the main page in the announcements. So what you're going to do is the PDF file is actually a case study. You're going to read through that case study, and then the Word document file is a listing of questions. There's a few questions that you want to get together as a group. You can use whatever method you would like. If you want to email your group mates, just in case you're not aware of ways to do that, here on your sidebar there's send email link, and you can use that to send emails, although most of you are probably already in touch because you're within the cohort. But just in case not, you can use that to send emails. You can choose which people you would like to email, and then you want to put together a written document that answers the questions. I think there's 4 of them in that in this document here. So you want to put together a response. Everyone needs to submit the assignment though. So if 4 of you are working on it, I expect to see 4 submissions. They'll all look the same. I realize that, but just for grading purposes, I want to have the document connected with everyone so that if we need to look back at it in the future, we can. So if you have any questions, once you get into that case study, if you have any questions, please just let me know. I'm happy to discuss that. So I think that's it for this week. We are talking about service area competitor analysis. It's really kind of just an extension of external analysis, and the external analysis is obviously a very important part of our strategy building. I think next week we move on to looking at internal analysis. So this This group project does ask you to complete a SWOT analysis. You should have some, I believe in week 1 we talked a little bit about SWOT analyses, and you should have some background knowledge of that. If you do need more information, just please let me know. But just from reading the document, there's a lot of information in there that you can build a SWOT analysis out of. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will look forward to speaking to everyone in the discussion boards. Thanks so much.